Hi everybody, welcome back. Gonna do a review, examination about the sound and the qualities of two turntables here. I mean, almost from the same period in time, around the early 70s. One of them is what you might call budget mid-price, which is that one, and this is a pretty classy one. And I'll give you all the details of how much they cost, how much you can get them for, you know, and then I'll do the sound for you. Okay, so let's have a look at this one here first. This is a Thorens 150, yeah. It has something which, if you watch here, if I move this arm board, bounce that up and down, you can see this platter also moves up and down. This has something called sub-chassis suspension, yeah? So this arm board and this platter are linked together underneath in this box on a metal frame which hangs on springs, yeah? What's the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to get something, you know, it's called isolation basically. It's to allow this needle to work without any interference from the outside world or any sound waves bouncing around. So if I was to play a record on here and I get this nice balance right on the springs, I'll be able to tap on this box. You probably might hear something, I mean, as the record is playing, yeah, as the music is coming out, you'll be able to tap on that box and not hear more or less nothing, yeah, because it's isolated, it's hanging off of springs. Because when you play a record and the sound comes out the speakers, it hits this box, it reverberates this box. This box acts like a, you know, a guitar box, say, and it will resonate, and it will resonate everything, and it will just mess up the sound a little bit. It will have a kind of feedback effect. So this solves that problem, and that's a really good, you know, it's a pretty class thing, way of, what am I saying, you know, it's an expensive way to do it, but it works and it solves that problem more or less completely, which loads of other decks just kind of ignore, you know, or, you know, pretend isn't there. So yeah, you have that, we have a wooden arm board, that platter there weighs about 6 pounds, yeah, this platter here, and there's a really quite robust 10mm, 1 centimetre bearing in there. This is well engineered. If you ask me, this is a real class thing, yeah. I know, pretty down, there are better ones, but you know, you could buy this deck, just the deck say, for about 150, 200 quid. I saw one went for something like 140 quid recently, and to me this is an absolute bargain. They wanted to make that today, it would be like 1200 quid, like no problem, yeah. That's the deck. This arm here is an SME 3009. Again, a class act, you know, all metal, obviously, just well engineered, light. You know, both of these things are kind of classic things. You know, they'd be in a book called Classic Hi-Fi, you know. Okay, so that's that. This arm, if you wanted to buy this arm alone, it's probably like 300 quid. You'll see a deck with this arm going for like 550, no problem, yeah. But if you ask me, it's really worth it, you know. Okay, so now here, Sansui 222 Mark II. This is, you know, wouldn't have been a budget deck back in the day, but it would have been a budget to mid-range deck. It's quite well appreciated, you know, these days. It kind of looks good too. We have wooden frame, wooden box, metal platter. You know, this platter would weigh 5 times less than that one, by the way. And a metal arm that seems to be pretty okay. You don't want a plastic arm. If you see an old decks with plastic arms or plastic, you really don't want plastic in turntables, yeah? It bends, it moves. One of the key things about turntables is rigidity, yeah? because you're trying to extract this tiny signal from a groove. And if you've got bend and flex and it's not held tightly, you start losing information. Yeah, you just start losing information. You know, so you want engineering in your turntables. You know what I mean? Let me just talk about the cartridge and the head shell. This here is Autophon Blue cartridge. I think they're like 150, 160 quid. When I conducted the tests with these turntables, I'm using the same cartridge, yeah? I'm swapping them over. And this is also in an ADC magnesium head shell, which is light and it's rigid. And that, I believe, is what you want, yeah? Light and rigid. If you get a head shell and it's kind of bendy and it flexes, again you've got the same thing. This arm's trying to, you know, keep itself rigid in this groove to get all the information out, and the head shell is plastic and bendy. It's just not what you want, you know. Just look at really expensive turntables, you know. There won't be plastic in them, you know. And particularly, and you know, the really expensive turntables could be extremely heavy. Okay, so yeah, you can buy one of those ADC head shells. Magnesium is actually what it's made of, but you know, light and rigid. I have seen a whole bunch of cheap head shells that were around for a while, you know, on eBay, and they're really heavy. They've got holes in them, but they're incredibly heavy, you know. Really, I don't think this is what you want. You go into all this lightness and engineering, have a really heavy head shell. No, I don't think so. Anyway, so we covered that. This turntable is about, with an arm, you'll get this for like 556, and this one's about 150. Okay, let's talk about the sound to the best of my abilities. Okay, I'll do it like this for you. I've been playing digital, you know, Spotify, CDs. The first turntable I put on is this, the Sansui. Immediately, I was actually quite amazed. I was almost shocked that somehow or other I'd forgotten of the joys of turntables. Immediately, it's more involving, yeah? It's a deeper sound stage. The fine detail and like the speed, say of drums, the speed at which everything seems lighter on a turntable. It's like everything's got heavy and everything's a bit draggy. Certainly when I'm listening to most digital that I've got, I mean, I should say I'm just listening to Spotify and a couple of CD players I have, an Arcam and a Cambridge. I mean, they're not expensive CD players, but you know, there's a distinction about the type of sound of digital versus vinyl that I would imagine, certainly in my experience, just generalizes, you know. And you cannot get the speed out of the digital format. Okay, back to the sound. So, first one I put on was that turntable. It was better than the Spotify, for sure, yeah. More involving, speed, vocals, distances, things like a cymbal that's going psh, just there on the, you know, on the left hand side. So it's in a space when I'm on this turntable. It really exists in a space, you know. You sort of hear the size of the room it's in, you know, things like that, a real joy. So yeah, I put that on, it was good. I was suddenly more involved, for sure. The reason I'm doing it like this for you is, so then I put this one on, yeah, then I put the Thorens on. What can I say? It's like an improvement all round, yeah, just an improvement in quality all round. It's like someone just removed a pair of curtains from in front of your speakers. Everything got a bit clearer, everything got a bit sharper, everything got a bit more detailed. I mean, you know, really good. It was really great. And more specifically about this one, this one, and this is where the engineering is really happening, the bass is suddenly a lucid, interesting, versatile creature. You know, you can listen to the bass, and it seems like the bass is separate. You know, just seems like, oh yeah, there's this whole separate thing called the bass guitar, pumping away, doing its own thing. And this one will definitely go down to lower frequencies. Yeah, that was very, very clear. You know, basically superior to digital is a point I'd like to make. And you know, this one, better soundstage, better vocals. Interesting point. First song I listened to on this deck, an album here by Elvis Costello, and immediately I'm listening to one of these tracks and it's like, God, this bloke's singing his heart out. I suddenly notice, you know what I mean? I suddenly notice that this bloke is giving it large, and I'm tuned into it. This kind of doesn't happen on the digital realm, and it happens better on this one than it does on this one. So yeah, that's probably, I think that's what all I should. I'll just say a couple of points in case you're looking at these turntables. These bolts here, these are my own bolts where I've bolted it to the sub chassis because it was just screwed in with some wood screws, just teeny little screws into this arm board. So I bolted it in long time ago, to be honest. I seem to remember it did make a difference. And that white stuff there is just my addition to give me, I needed a bit more height for the wire coming out of the bottom there. But you know what, I mean, the other point I want to make is, when I put these turntables on, I haven't had turntables for 3 years probably, and I just thought to myself, I was kind of shocked that I have spent all this time without a turntable and how much better it is. And what's happened, you know, it's how seductive digital is because of the convenience. It just lures you away, and you know, I wasn't thinking about the sound. I was just thinking about, oh, it's just easier to do this. And you know, I'm here talking about stereo all the time, and I put my vinyl on and I just thought, God, I was just a bit amazed, you know, that how I could forget about it. It was just kind of like, surprised myself, do you know what I mean? So to me, this is significantly better than this. You know, to me, this is really worth having if you can afford it. You know, with a cartridge like that, you're probably up to 700, 800 quid. But this is really going to give you something. This will give you an improvement, but you know, that's a leap forward compared to digital, as far as I'm aware, anyway. So okay, that's it. Please, there's tons more videos I've made on my channel, all kinds of details about hi-fi. I've been meddling with hi-fi for 40 years, and I'm just going to tell you everything that I know, basically. Okay, bye now.